What is up, everybody? Welcome back. It is your favorite director's favorite director, in the famous words of Alison De Laurentiis.
Did you miss me?
Welcome back to the channel. We are on episode dose of Erik Tells All. Episode 1, I was wonderfully surprised at how authentic and how real it was, and obviously how truthful, which I expected because it was Erik's story and he was telling it. So I don't expect anything less moving forward. If anything, I expect more of me being annoyed with the people who are trying to disprove the theory of the sexual abuse claims. So with that being said, we are going to be watching obviously episode 2, and then we'll be watching episode 3 right after. I am indifferent when it comes to anything that is being told not from his perspective or their perspective. So these are always a breath of fresh air for me, to be able to just kind of sit back and know that this is the truth that I'm being told. And like I said last episode, it's all intuition. It's all just knowing. And once you have that sense of knowing and belief, everything, it's easier to watch, at least for me personally. How are you? How are you doing? How's your mental health? I hope you're finding peace in this crazy world, especially right now. As always, Patreon's going to see this first, so if you want to do that, go ahead and head over to my Patreon. You can see it a day in advance. If not, that's also okay. If you want to see me outside of Patreon and YouTube, I'm the spiritual director on everything. I wanted to get those formalities out of the way so that I can just jump right into this video. So in order to do that, I have to say, if you're new, welcome. If you're not new, you know what time it is. Pull up a seat, lay in bed, grab some snacks, and let's watch it.
I told him what happened. We had a special connection. Which were the last few hours that I was able to spend free, which turned out to be very precious moments in my life because Andy would later die in 2003.
Jesus. Again, I want to really reiterate something here. If they were the heartless boys that the prosecution was trying to make them out to be, Erik would have just left his brother. He would have stayed. He would have God, it would have caused him to run if they were heartless. But Erik loved his brother so much that he was like, yeah, like, I'll turn myself in. Like, that's the least I can do. It's been weighing on me this whole time. This is kind of what I anticipated to happen. If anything, I anticipated it to happen sooner. So it makes sense that he came back and he didn't need to be extradited.
And they were waiting for me, and that's where I was headed. And I knew that I would no longer be in control of anything that happened to me.
That was the last act of freedom he ever had.
When Lyle and Erik Menendez were arrested, it was shocking.
Sort of a second thought was, wow, maybe the pieces fit here.
I promise.
It's like everybody knew.
There's nobody who said, I figured that from the beginning. Nobody.
Everybody knew something was wrong.
They actually said that they regretted that I had to go there because they were worried that I wouldn't make it to trial.
It's like...
It's dirty. It smells like urine. At night, rats come out. Literally, these large rats. They take over.
I can't do the rats.
You hear screams echoing through the halls of people being beaten. You hear people being tortured.
That is terrifying.
My first week there, the guy 3 cells down from me himself.
That is so insane. Dr. Vickery!
Me asking simple background questions about his parents. My impression of Erik was, boy, this kid is a mess.
Remember too that in order to protect you from what happened, and we talk about this often, your brain and your body, well, your brain mostly, it shuts down all of that trauma. It has to. It doesn't have a choice. It has to detach itself from the trauma, because if it's like bottlenecking the trauma, because if it doesn't, then you will experience it and you might not make it out the other end. So with Erik, right, this really traumatic thing happened. They did kill their parents. They go off on this spending spree, which he even said it was more Lyle's thing versus his. He tells Dr. Oziel, and that's kind of the first time that he's able to kind of release the cork in the bottle, okay? And it starts to kind of pour out, and then they tell Dr. Oziel everything, and then he kind of goes on, I would say, living his life, except I think it was still a distraction. So then when he goes and he sees Dr. Vickery, that cork is undone, but now those floodgates are open. Now every emotion that he's ever felt in the last 7 months of his life after he killed his parents, and even before that, right? Because everybody just assumes that it was just this 7-month time frame that he was dealing with. He was dealing with the 13 years prior to that he was being by his father. So he was dealing with all of that pain and that trauma. So when somebody comes in, and I believe he said in the documentary even that he had to kind of test out Dr. Vickery. He had to make sure that he wasn't another Dr. Oziel. And when he figured that out, it was when he kind of released a lot. So what Dr. Vickery is seeing when Erik first comes to him is kind of that overflow of every emotion that he's ever bottlenecked. And that's why he's saying he was just a mess. He wouldn't stop crying over simple things. I would ask him about what his family would eat for dinner, and he would just start breaking down sobbing. It's because he was dealing with every single emotion, and that's how we release, isn't it? That is what we do, right? When we are overwhelmed, when we are excited, when we're super excited, we cry. When we're super sad, we cry. When we're super happy, we cry. When something good happens, we cry. When something bad happens, we cry. It's who we are. It's how we release emotion. And so in that moment, that's what Erik was doing. He was releasing physically everything that he's ever experienced.
One at a time, they had to leave everything behind. He's now in Midwest America. He's alone. He doesn't look like everyone else. He doesn't speak like it.
It's crazy how little I care about Jose's history. I don't care at all.
Now, my mother is a senior. Outgoing, and she's charismatic. I think that my mother represented to my father everything that he wanted to.
The American dream. Yeah.
My mother was attracted to my father because my father represented this kind of mysterious Latin figure that was also very focused on her.
Attention. Kitty loved attention.
It was a mission on his part that he had to become the richest, the most powerful, with the most beautiful sons, with the most beautiful wife, he was going to
It was,
everything.
it's not even that, like, oh my God. Jose is such an egotistical man. And I can't express this enough of how annoying it is when I hear people talk about him. Not the people are annoying. It's not that the people are annoying me. It's just who he was is annoying me. And it's like nobody really knows how to describe it. And let me describe it to you very simply. Jose was a very egotistical man. Looks mattered. Physically, they mattered. It mattered what they were their physical appearance mattered. Their reputation mattered. It mattered what they looked like from the outside. It mattered if they had the white picket fence. It mattered if they had the money. It mattered if they had the cars, the house. Like, it all mattered to him. And that was the problem. At that point, his family became a possession and a property that mattered in regards to reputation. And because of that, he never saw those boys as his actual children. And I said it before and I will say it again. Jose did not love his family. He did not love them. There is absolutely no way in hell he loved his family. He loved what they looked like on the outside. He loved what it could get him. He loved what it did get him. It got him noticed. It got him money. It got him fame. It got him power. And so when he was using his children, he was using what he wasn't anything. Actually, he said, this is my property. I can do whatever I want to my property. He treated them like the new house that you buy and you furnish it however you want to, and you rip out the walls and you do whatever you want to. That's what he treated his family like. And it shows. That's what pisses me off.
With Jose, it was only work. Every time he came to town, somebody got fired. And he was just a no emotion type of guy.
He was a narcissist. He's a psychopath.
Almost a delusional self-confidence.
It's a good way to describe it. A delusional self-confidence.
Live entertainment joining us here in Los Angeles.
It's like, be happy.
Provides pretty much what the consumer wants.
Mm-hmm. And you must have projections for down the road what you're expecting to make at some point.
Well, we think 1989 will be a tremendous year.
I think I've went this whole time without ever hearing Jose's real voice. Why does that make me emotional? Because when you when my let's get deep for a second. When my grandma passed away, she's my best friend. When she passed away, you hold on to the memories of these people through different things. What they sounded like, what they looked like, what they acted like. And so when you forget about all those things, right? Or when you can't remember what they sound like, you can't remember what they look like without using a picture. It hurts so much. But what's interesting about this situation is it's the complete opposite. When I hear his voice, I can't unhear him yelling at Erik to get upstairs. I can't unhear him threatening to kill his kids. Like, I can't unhear those things. Like, that's what happens when I hear his voice. It's like, wow, that's what they heard. That's the voice that they heard. That's the voice that they thought was going to come and take their life. Like, oh my goodness. Wow. And as I'm watching him, he's just sitting there emotionless. Like, no empathy. Like, he was a true psychopath.
There will be a television camera in the courtroom.
Cameras were all over. It was just a spectacle.
Were you shocked to hear that Mr. Menendez...
Not Sylvester.
Possibly?
Beyond belief. It's beyond belief.
This was supposed to be a slam dunk case.
Guilty, guilty, guilty. There was those kinds of cases where it kind of felt like a jury would go into the jury room.
And I was going to say, and there wouldn't be a long deliberation in the jury room, you assumed.
And so I walked out there, and Leslie made a joke, and it was so nerve-wracking that I smiled. And it was this defense mechanism that came out. But
and everybody took that and ran with it.
Erik was out on the lawn weeping.
Not Diane Sawyer. That was real.
That's your characterization of it. Not mine.
We had a number of
I can already feel that I'm about to go in.
it presided over the McMartin trial.
Through more than 2.5 years on trial, Raymond Bucky and his mother, Peggy McMartin Bucky, sat accused of horrendous acts of child abuse.
What?
Not guilty.
He was also...
So they kept losing.
His office needed vindication, and the Menendez...
What a word. It's a good word.
Get a high-profile case where, you know, you're the shizzle in that office. To get that kind of case means you made it. The case went to Lester Kuriyama and Pam Blazanich.
Trash. Trash. She was trash. Not good enough.
The time you had the conversation with Erik Menendez, was there anything about it that made you think you should go run and write it down for later reference?
The judge determined they would have to have 2 juries. Each boy would be tried separately.
Mm-hmm. That's not uncommon.
Good afternoon.
I remember when Leslie came in, she's a whirlwind, high energy, eccentric.
She's so precious.
And it became really clear from just meeting her for 5 minutes that this is someone who will fight for you.
Yes. Oh, they hate Leslie.
Ball cutter. She was tenacious. She was a good lawyer, and she was intimidating.
She's a great lawyer.
Isn't that what happened?
Miss Abramson, I'm
Is
sure.
that what happened?
What was the best part about Leslie was that it didn't matter who you were. She was fighting you. She believed in it so much. She believed in what she did so much. And even when Erik says she was somebody that you knew was going to fight for you, she wasn't just fighting the prosecution. She was fighting the judge. She was fighting the media. She was fighting the prosecutors. She was fighting everybody. She was fighting everybody. And she stood on what she said. She meant everything that she said. That's why she was a great lawyer. That's why people were intimidated by her, because women don't do this, right? Women don't do this. Women don't fight back. Women aren't this fierce. Women don't have this much independence. She did.
The defendants lied a great deal before they were caught. What makes you think they would stop lying now?
These two men did it for selfish financial reasons.
I want to address something, and I want to bring it up to you guys, because for the most part, you guys are like my favorite people in the world right now, right? Because you guys have been having such great conversation in the comment section. And so I posed this. If these boys did it for money, and they were these great masterminds, and they picked up the shell casings and they pinned it on the mafia and they almost got away with it. If they were those people, in what world do the great masterminds who only did it for money start spending the money that they did it for? Genuinely. That's a genuine question. I'm genuinely asking for an answer. Please, if you know in the comments, let me know. Because I don't understand, like, if they were these genius masterminds who only did it for the money, then why, in what world do they start spending that money? Wouldn't you wait years before you started to spend that money so that it didn't come back to you? And again, what money? They paid for everything. Jose and Kitty were paying for everything. And Jose wasn't gonna, even if they got taken out of the will, Jose wasn't gonna die anytime soon. He was still going to provide for them. He didn't cut them off completely. They still lived with him. Like, let's say that they did it for the money and they killed Jose before he can take them out of the will. Jose was still paying for everything. They had just bought Lyle a new condo. Erik was going to UCLA. He was going to be staying at home, but he probably could have asked for whatever he wanted. It doesn't make any sense.
We had a pretty good case. We had their spending. We had the record of sale of the shotguns that we thought they used.
They were basically, what this is setting you up for is the blind side.
From a woman by the name of
Juju.
Guy that was treating me, and he turned out to be my boyfriend, and he was also the psychologist for the Menendez brothers.
The actual ethics.
Seeing Dr. Oziel, I was falling apart, and I needed extensive help. And I just broke down, and I told him what I had done. When I went to him, he was married with children, but he was having an affair with this woman, Judalon Smith.
Juju. Get her name right.
We knew that there were tapes.
That is such a breach of
their therapy sessions.
Thank you.
Without the consent of the patient.
So many problems with him.
And they fit the definition of therapist. What you tell them is like talking to God. It is sacrosanct.
Get him. Get him.
Mistress, who I believe was also a patient of his.
She was.
If he claims that he was afraid, then he could legally divulge that to another person.
A state court ruled that audio tapes made while the Menendez
are inadmissible. Couldn't be.
Were allowed to admit the evidence
How?
of the recordings.
How do the recordings become admissible? How does that work? That doesn't even make any sense. You were not afraid that they were going to kill you. You were... I'm fine. Dr. Jerome Oziel. The annoying part about this is that he knew that he was going to get caught. And let me tell you why he knew that. He set this up from the beginning. Erik tells him what happens. He starts to record them and basically tells him that the only reason that was when he said, yeah, he starts to record them without their knowledge. Then he says, I have enough information to go to the police and I can. However, I think we should go into business together. Then he called Judalon and he called Juju and he said, I feel like they're going to kill me, but they confess so that it was like a loophole to doctor-client privilege, right? And then the tapes get admitted into evidence. So what the defense now has to do, and what they did, which is what we see, is you have to tear into his credibility as a therapist. You have to. You don't have a choice. And let me tell you something. It's not hard to tear into Dr. Jerome Jerome Oziel's credibility. Was not hard to tear into. That man was trash. He is still trash. He will continue to be trash. I will never look at that man and think that, oh, well, maybe just you had a family, you had kids, you were in an affair, you were blackmailing kids who killed their parents, and what's even more annoying to me is you could have been the guy to get them to open up to you, to tell you why they killed their parents, but you couldn't do that. You thought, this is an opportunity for me to get paid. Congratulations, Dr. L. Jerome Oziel. You didn't get paid, but the whole world knows who you are now.
When Erik was burdened so heavily with what was on his mind, he went to the one person he thought he could trust.
So annoying. So annoying.
That idea that they should never tell anybody anything, it was proven to them.
And this goes beyond that. This goes beyond that in the sense of, how does any patient trust their doctor after this? After hearing this? Take out the murder, take out all of that. Just the therapist client. How do I trust anybody? I don't trust you. Come on.
You wound up moving your unstable girlfriend into your family.
Get him, Leslie.
Starting in December, didn't you?
Would you like to ask me why?
Sure. No, I would like to ask you what I would like to ask you, and that's what I...
Get him.
Now, can you answer
Okay,
it?
let's not argue.
No.
Lessons to learn from what...
No. Your Honor, permission to treat this witness as hostile. Permission to treat this witness as hostile. Permission to treat this witness as hostile. Because what you're going to do is you're going to answer my questions, babes. I'm not Erik. That's for sure. I'm not Erik. I'm not the 1, the 2, nor the 3. I'm not Erik. You're not going to convince me.
It was just too much for me to sort of cope with in my brain.
I was really surprised at kind of the groupies that have been here for a while.
Not the groupies.
Obsessed with the trial. It's a real interesting trial, and I want them to be acquitted. I think they're really cute.
Not being on the jury and not being their lawyer, there's a...
Hybristophiliac.
I wrote one letter to Erik. Generally, the letter was, I support you.
Who is this?
Sorry for what you're going through. I believe in your testimony. We started a communication.
Stop. No, because stop. I could cry. No, because stop. I can't. I literally can't do this. There are a lot of things I can't do. This I cannot. Hey, Tammy. Hi, Tammy. Literally, I don't even know how to feel right now. This is the greatest thing that I've ever experienced in my lifetime, you guys. I can't handle this. I did not expect this. This is a pleasant surprise because I'm spitting all over the place. I don't even know how to feel right now. I don't even know. And he backed a, okay, you know what? Erik knew what he was doing, because he bagged a dime. He bagged a dime. Don't sit here and try to convince me that he didn't. Hey, Tammy. Hold on, let me rewind. I need to hear this.
We started a communication through letter writing through the trial. He was telling me about how they put him on Xanax and
Jesus.
how the trial was going.
I was being portrayed as someone who would kill for money, someone who had no empathy or...
You know what's so crazy now that I think about it? The speculation. Like, all of it is speculation. Even when I just read that where it said cops say they did it for money. What the hell do you mean the cops are saying that they did it for money? You don't know why they did it. And then when they tell you why they did it, you don't believe them. I don't understand. How is this how the justice system is? Oh my gosh. I'm going to go through a crisis, aren't I? I cried when I found out that sugar wasn't real. I know I'm about to go through a whole crisis about the justice system. Wow. Because it's all just speculation. Nobody is trying to get to the actual truth of what happened. We're all just speculating. Unless you have somebody say, I did it and here's why I did it. The boys. It's all just speculation. The cops say they did it for money. What the hell do you mean the cops say they did it for money? Prove it.
They're not entirely victims here. In fact, they're more perpetrators than victims. They consider that they took 2 lives.
Are we saying this before we find out about this? Because I'm not going to do this with these people. I'm sorry.
Victims. At 18, you're not a boy. You're not a child. You're not this young little victim, basically.
So when are you a young little victim? I'm sorry. I didn't realize that there was an age limit on that. Like, I didn't realize that if you were 21 years old and you were assaulted, you're not a young little victim. You're not. You're 21, you're an adult, grow up and suck it up. That's literally what people are saying, isn't it? That is so wild. That is so... The word that comes to mind is buffoonish. Buffoonish. And I'm going to use it because it's necessary in this situation.
But, I mean, I know Leslie, and I know how good she is. So I was just wondering, I said, is it really? But there's nothing I could do at this point.
Yeah, because you suck. I said what I said and I meant what I said.
If a boy, even a teenage boy, is being arrested, is it his fault?
The big question is, do you believe him?
Yes. It's weird.
I think the only thing that mattered was what happened that week that caused me to be so terrified that I could ever pull that trigger.
You had to go back.
This family was living the American dream, but all of a sudden, this American dream was just a facade.
Tried, but I can't remember one time when I ever saw Kitty and Jose hug each other. They would pose for pictures.
Told you. They don't love each other. None of them loved each other. I think the kids loved their parents, but I don't think that it was reversed.
You learn don't talk about what goes on in this home. And the reason is that climate of secrecy, and these families often are isolated, so they don't have a sense of even what's normal.
That both of the brothers suffered not only involved verbal and psychological humiliation and hypercriticism.
I used that word, humiliating.
When I was first, it was by Lyle. Bend over and he would stick things at me. He was a bullier and he hurt me.
To make it normal. He had to make it normal. Yeah, I think just hearing Erik say he was a bully and he hurt me. Like, that is so... And it's even more annoying because it's like, Lyle wasn't doing it for sexual gratification. He was doing it because he had to make it normal. It had to be a normal thing to him. Ugh.
And they didn't quite fully understand what was right and what was wrong.
Yes.
No, it was wrong.
Thank you.
Lyle was mimicking what his father had done to him.
Because his father said, this is all normal. This is part of helping you be a better athlete,
helping you to relax and so forth.
I can't.
I actually saw it as just the opposite. I saw it as a way of my dad expressing that he loved me.
That is a distortion of his love map. It was just our brain creates these wavelengths and it kind of maps out how we view love, right? So somebody who was fortunate enough to have parents who loved them, grandparents who loved them in the right way, right? Or in a way that is normal, you pass that on. Your love map is developed and you go, okay, this is how I'm supposed to love because this is how I was loved. And so with Erik, he assumed, okay, well, this is love. So this is how I'm supposed to love. This is what I'm supposed to expect from love. This is just how they express love. Nobody expresses love like this. This is not love. Let me set the record straight, and I should never have to, but this isn't love. That's not what, no. Love does not hurt like this.
Objection, Your Honor, and move to strike.
Overrule.
Calling for speculation, Your Honor.
Overrule.
There's a lot of overruling.
Shake your head negatively when the court rules against you.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And you had better stop doing that or the court's going to find you in contempt.
Then find me in contempt.
It was her job to be a warrior.
You want to convict him for his crime? Fine. You want to victimize him more? Not fine.
Get him! And then she sat back like, what's up?
And we had dinner with Leslie Abramson. And Leslie Abramson said at the dinner, these boys, I would adopt them. Under the table.
He told the child that this was their special secret, to be shared with no one.
And a kid doesn't know any better. Jesus.
Things have progressed where he would have me massage him, and I would do so with my mouth. Holding my head, and I started to gag, and he forced himself. And I remember afterwards, he kind of rubbed my head and said that, that I did good as a boy.
That I want you to know that this never gets any easier for me. I want you guys to know that it doesn't matter how many times I hear the story, how many times I hear them talk about it, it never gets any easier to hear because I keep thinking, and you have to imagine, right? You were at this age at one point. If you ever loved, a loved one was this age at one point, somebody that you loved dearly was this age at one point, or they might be this age. So when you hear this story and you take into account that this is a child and you are it's like you can't even say the words because they're so like, ugh. You're holding his head there and you are not giving him an option. And then when he's done, you give him an attaboy. Like he's on a soccer team. Oh, my anger and my hatred for them just grows and grows for Kitty and Jose. It just grows and grows and grows because this is just beyond me.
The fact that they didn't report it at the time did not mean that it was a lie.
Children who've been abused oftentimes don't tell because...
The first one lost me. The first one, she lost me. Why didn't they report it? Why didn't they say anything until the attorneys came in? And they sit there and they tell you too, right? They tell you why. We didn't want to tell the secret at all. We didn't want this to be a part of it. We were willing to just go down. We were willing to just lie there and take it. Jesus, these boys were just victimized over and over and over again. Then the second one, she comes in and I was really concerned about her for a split second there, but she said, just because they waited doesn't mean it was a lie. Because they were good looking, wealthy boys doesn't mean it was a lie. Thanks, Jesus. I was really concerned there.
Sometimes they don't know that they've been abused until later in their lives. Children tend to trust adults. So
it's our fatal flaw, isn't it? That we trust adults as children.
Punished. They feel that they've done something wrong.
We even interviewed in New York a girlfriend that Jose had at the time. He was having an affair with another woman, and he was married to a woman.
Really?
Having mistresses has nothing to do with being a
Exactly.
have mistresses and still.
I don't care if you have 8 girlfriends. You can still be messing with your kids.
Far-fetched defense. Let's see how this plays out.
What you heard.
It was a far, and I'm gonna stop it there because I don't actually want to see what happens next until I watch it. But it was a far-fledged defense because at the time nobody could believe boys could be assaulted. Let me explain that. Right? Everybody keeps saying you could have said something, you could have spoken up. It was repeated over and over again in Monsters. I've heard it several times from people here. Plenty of people are abused by their parents and they don't kill them. Blah, blah, blah. Okay? That's what I'm hearing. Wah, wah, wah. That's what I hear. Because if they would have said something, they still would have... They would have never got the opportunity to say anything. They wouldn't be here. Genuinely. I genuinely believe that. I believe so much so that if they would have said something, Jose would have had his boys killed and still found a way to get off for murder. Genuinely. He was that connected. He was that much of a strong armor. So, God, I hate that. I hate that statement. Why didn't they just say something? This is why they didn't say anything. This is why. I understand that there's a murder charge attached to it. I understand that. That's not the point here. The point here is this is why they didn't say anything. Listen to what you guys are saying about abuse victims. Why would anybody want to come forward after this? All you've done is, again, I said this in the last video, you've perpetuated a reality where people won't come forward because listen to how you are talking, even if they are abused. And I believe that this was said in the doc, I believe Lyle said that he was getting letters, or no, it was a Barbara Walters interview maybe, where he was getting letters of people who were abused and they said, we don't want to come forward because we just see how your case was handled. Everybody's lying. If other, and this is an interesting take, but if other abuse victims believe them, I'm sorry, but I'm inclined to believe them too. Because the people who are gonna know in their heart whether this person is lying or not is gonna be somebody who went through it themselves. And I'll stand on that. I'm so glad I'm done with this episode because it was infuriating me, but I know that I'm gonna have to deal with like the second trial. But it'll be fine. I'll be fine maybe. Probably not. Yeah. I mean, I think I said everything that I wanted to say. If I didn't, I'll touch base on it in the next episode or something. I don't know. I'm going to take some time and process myself because, I'm feeling. That's all. Alrighty. If you stayed the whole time and you enjoyed it, thank you. I appreciate you. If you stayed the whole time and you hated it, I'm so sorry, but thank you, obviously. Sorry guys, I'm trying to gather my thoughts. Be good to yourself, be kind to yourself, take care of yourself, and above all else, I love you.